Well, there's more to this story than that. My director, Dr. Flacchini,
Oh,
who
yes.
is sitting back there somewhere,
He was.
was a turbo hobbyist. He was a guy that would build every circuit that came along, and it was all for fun. And so one day he says, you know, we used to have a student here in the physics department, some guy by the name of Nelson Pass. Wonder what happened to him. Well, we had this new thing called the internet, and at the time it was still largely the purview of the university, educational environments, government. And I said, well, Bob, he's in Forest Hill, not too. So we decided to call just to make an introduction. We never expected to actually connect with you, Nelson, but guess who answered the phone?
I'm a really cheap guy. I don't hire any help that isn't absolutely necessary.
But, so we've kind of got the dead air thing cleared up. You know, we had some topics that we were probably going to run with, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to fill in and build on some things that Jim Tiemann mentioned about getting new blood and new people involved and that sort of thing. And I've had two questions today about a project that Nelson did, what was it, 12 years ago, 14 years ago?
What?
Klein horn?
20, hell, I don't know, it's a long time.
Long time ago.
I can look it up.
And having Sean here is kind of fortuitous because I've done audio shows with Sean, and his audience for Zoo Audio is the antithesis of the normal audiophile community that we're used to. And you see this really poignantly at the California Audio Show one year that the show was at the Hilton right off the Oakland airport and rather poorly attended. And one of the people from the local music community, Cookie Marinko, Blue Coast Music, comes in and looks at this big room that we're in, and she says, wouldn't it be fun if we could have a pop-up concert here? And Sean's social network was 10 or 15 times larger than the audiophile community, and Sean agreed. He said, let's have this pop-up thing. And this was like 10 o'clock in the morning. We scheduled it for 3 in the afternoon, and we did a pretty good job of filling the room. And one of the things that, you know, really comes out with when you get non-audiophiles to come to one of these events, or non-technical engineering people to come to these types of events, is that we're perceived as not being a very fun group. And people want to have fun, you know? They have lots of places that they can spend their disposable income at, and lots of other activities, and the lack of motivation to bring them into this lifestyle, it's not a hobby, guys, I hate to break it to you, it's a lifestyle, is that they just want to have fun. So I've had two people come up and they've asked about the Klein horn, which was an over-the-top backloaded horn, and the name was kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke because it was a Klein bottle in shape, and a Klein bottle is, or a Klein fixture is a three-dimensional representation of a four-dimensional object. Bottle, yeah. So we had that, and then Klein in German is little, and the Klein horns were anything but little.
And that was the tongue-in-cheek part, because it's a pretty fantastic representation of a 4D thing.
So we've had these questions about the Klein horn today. So basically it was it 6x6 mouth horn, 6x6, and about 9 feet tall.
The article has all the dimensions.
Yeah, and
stuff.
so
You're supposed to build your own.
It's on DIY. It's on First Watt.
Watt's got it.
And it was brought up because this speaker that was done years and years and years ago refuses to die. There are people that are recreating it as art and taking it on the
On tour,
road.
yeah.
It's on there's a replicant of it on the road right now. So,
A perfect copy.
a perfect copy.
I mean, they didn't even embellish it. They just did it absolutely the way it was originally.
So here we have two people that are in the industry, and Sean is, well, Nelson's the audiophile. You're the classic audiophile. Sean, well,
Kent is.
and Sean is
I'm the classy audio.
yes, you are. And Sean is a music junkie. He's a tone head. He's a tone chaser. I've done shows with him, and what Sean has done for me in the time I've spent with him at audio shows, as he has pulled me so far out of my audio comfort zone in terms of what I listen to, what artists I follow, how I think of audio, that I think we have a perfect opportunity. Got these two guys together. If you were looking at something, Sean, like a Klein horn as a fun way to get new people in the lifestyle, what would you do different? And Nelson, if you were revisiting the Klein horn, how would you make it more entertaining?
I would get Sean to build it. he's the master builder.
Well, so I do things for myself. I don't know. I don't care about you guys. And likewise, you guys build what you want to build. But the Klein horn is a seriously interesting loudspeaker.
But having said that, sitting on the factory floor at Past Labs, I can tell you that the most successful products are not the products that we build with a specific market in mind. It's inevitably that product that we look at and we go, God, I really want this for myself, my family, my friends.
Yeah.
And those are the commercial products. And as you guys are thinking about products, thinking about builds, if you have something that you're really enthusiastic about, as opposed to something that you're fascinated by, but if you're just like really enthusiastic, maybe the enthusiastic product or project is the one to go after.
Yeah.
Well, you follow your bliss. You know, my favorite projects are the ones when it's all done. People go, "What the hell's that?" And you know, as far as I'm concerned, the whole enterprise is all about entertainment. We're not feeding starving children or doing anything particularly useful. This is, to the extent that there's a societal benefit, it's the fact that if you're in a good mood, having done some neat thing, then you might in fact go out and do some real world good. But in and of itself, this is just people having fun. And I don't treat it any differently. So very often I take on projects just because, A, I could give it a really wild name. Sometimes the name will drive the project, like the Octofet I'm doing for LSK. Or, you know, the Klein horn was exactly that. Although I have some background on that because I built one many years before that at Davis in the dorm.
The claw.
The claw.
The legendary
The
claw.
legendary claw was 7 by 7 foot mouth, and it was a straight horn, not folded. And so it was 9 feet deep, and you could lay down in it. And every time, and it broke down so that we could get it in and out of buildings because it was large. Every time the claw was fired up, the cops arrived. Even the time when we pointed it way out, there's a vet med center like a mile away. And there are big concrete buildings and stuff. You know, it's all off hours too. And it's like, they're not going to mind anything. We fired it that way.
Was that
Cops showed up.
was that from student housing? Is that where you, or grad student housing?
That was in Tercero.
Oh, Tercero. Okay, yeah. So it was a mile and a half of open field between them and the
It was
facility they
perfect
defended.
listening distance for the claw. and of course we had a kind of a I guess you'd call it a jock house of dorms, but there was like all the guys doing athletic stuff clumped together in one of the dorms next to ours. We were the co-op. We were the wild and crazy co-educational facility. They would hang all of their speakers out the windows and play music good and loud. And then the day came, you can see the dawn coming up over the horizon and the claws being hauled into place. So, but the Kleinhorn was just a smaller version of that, and it was designed to make a louder, 6-inch louder, 5-inch louder driver kick ass, which it did. And that was the best part about it. What's this little thing in the middle? Oh, that's a speaker driver. Oh, that can't be.
Well, it had a companion device too. Transmission line subwoofer, actually a pair of them.
El Pipo.
So each of two El Pipos had these 21-inch drivers. Well, two of them, so 4 total. And I'm going to tell a story of that. So we got that thing finished, and we were playing the soundtrack to Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. And there's a huge timpani that's beating out a heartbeat at the very beginning. It starts at a very low level. Builds up to a frightening crescendo. And Nelson lived at the top of a hill, and at the bottom of the hill was a horse barn and a little pond. And his daughter comes up from the pond and she says, "Daddy, there were ripples on the pond. Did you do that?" And so, I know these are just kind of like entertaining anecdotal stories, but I think it points to some of the things that really encourage other people to come share this endeavor, is that, as you are doing projects, think about making them inviting to other people, and make it infectious.
What about you, Sean? What crazy thing did you do?
We got a Klipsch La Scala sounding good. They are great. Right. They can be great with exclamation point, but that's so.
What did you do to do that?
So I learned about speaker level time delays as a kid with a pair of those. So our local university had a set that they were getting rid of, and of course I'm kind of a dumpster diver because I'm hanging out at the Air Force Base diving through the salvage DMRO stuff, and so I'm used to dumpster diving. Found a pair of La Scalas in the dumpster, so we made them sound good, and then we knew we could make them play loud. So that's we threw the first big party we did in Buckway's barn, and had the entire high school stuffed into a barn, and yes, the cops showed up.
That would have been an interesting story earlier, because we had a gentleman that.
Brilliant, and I think new people, especially, and with the surface mount stuff, that might be the thing that draws them in, because you have many cheap devices that are almost throwaway when you buy them by the hundreds or whatever. Then you have the sharing, matching and sharing with other newbies, so you can get matched JFETs for this project, and it just sort of builds on itself. Cheapness, the surface mountness, all the parallel, you can parallel it for different applications, different power levels. I think it just all builds on itself.
And they're fairly inexpensive too.
And inexpensive, totally. And if something like that was backed by you, it would just take off automatically.
Well, if it's a preamp, you have Wayne do it.
Okay.
Well, so
He's the man.
Which slightly parallel device are you working around? You were talking about that we had somewhere works good with 4, works good with 8. By the time you get 16 or 32, you can rock out with headphones. What was the device?
I don't remember.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah.
But
although from the standpoint of a DIY project for somebody, because most people getting into this hobby there's a reason why power amps are popular, because power amps are simple, right? A preamp by comparison has got 3 times the componentry and 3 times the connections or more, right? As well as a lot of wire and so forth and so on. And I don't know if I want to say, hey, new person, here's 2,000 SOC 23s. right? Here's a soldering iron, have at it. But I totally get it, right?
Right, down to 10, you can have a really powerful headphone amp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, I think if you limited the scope of this to where, yeah, you talk about driving a power amp to drive a headphone, and you do a distributed output stage using inexpensive devices, and you have enough of a group buy.
And you sneak it in as a tweeter amp, right? Into the electronic crossover stuff, you sneak it in.
And that's the new frontier, more electronic crossovers. We get a crossover or two where people kind of get inspired to try stuff. Now
And then they have to build more amplifiers.
Now you have a 2-watt tweeter amplifier, just made out of surface mount cables.
Yeah.
Sir, you build a headphone amp, and then you build a power amp to run a tactile transducer, and you rope in all your gaming friends.
Well, you really want to get them, pack them in. I say that we have like the equivalent of tractor pulls for amplifiers. And we'll get, we'll get a D'Agostino over here, and we'll get something else over there, and we will connect them directly to each other and let it rip. And see which one goes first. See, I would attend that.
Put the burning amp.
Oh, yeah, and no, right, and no fuses allowed. Sure. Yeah.
Every year we should have one sacrificial amp that we're going to find out what its limits are.
There's a reason Burning Man got moved out of Marin County.
Well, as a speaker guy, all I've ever attempted had been full-range speakers, so I got a box, a speaker, and a wire. I can handle that. And
But open baffle is very
even easier.
It's
no
even,
box.
there's no box. All you guys have to do is go to Home Depot or, I don't know, get a sheet of plywood, rip it into whatever size is appropriate.
4x2 handling panel. You don't even have to.
There you go.
You don't even have to cut anything.
There you go. And then do electronics to EQ it,
But
and you're good to go.
Yeah, we got that.
my lead-in was that what Dana Brock had up at Sea Ranch, which is maybe next year's build project. We're talking about a speaker camp, and it's the 8-inch Bofu in like a 3 cubic foot sealed container.
Well, Nelson's got a stack of open baffles that might just lend itself to that.
We counted the number of Bofus when we were up there. We had, about 120?
Gentlemen,
Yes, you haven't seen Nelson's storage unit.
okay.
Oh, and by the way, I have an open baffle that's got 21 cutouts in it for those. So you're only going to be able to have
So that's a Bessel
80
array.
of the others. Yeah.
Okay, so Nelson, you've got enough baffles to build 40 or 50 pairs of speakers if somebody wanted to do a speaker.
I think 40 pair.
40 pair?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone would
Those
need.
are very expensive baffles, though.
Yeah, I know they are.
Yeah. On the other hand,
But they're cheaper than a box.
on the other hand, they're just sitting there. 15-inch eminence on the bottom. Whatever full range you like on the top. Oh, I have the moths to go with those too.
And
Speaking of 15 inches, you got what, 4 of them up there on the raffle items?
Yeah. They were Parts Express specials.
well, if somebody wanted to build a speaker, I see the difficult task, which is typically the woodworking, already at hand. It just requires electronics and low wattage electronics to bring that project to fruition.
Just back to that for a moment. I recall that we have 4 of those woofers, 4 horn drivers and horns, and also 2 boxes that they would fit neatly into, so that at least one pair, you've got a complete kit except for crossover.
Available as a raffle in minutes.
And the other one, it's a real cheap box out of Parts Express, you know,
Yep.
designed for a beat-around PA box. I built a pair of them up and they came out real nice, and I gave them to the guy who washes my windows. And also gave me a Zappa poster for a concert I attended in 1969.
Yes.
Hello?
Slot-loaded woofers are heavily worth pursuing?
Say what?
Slot-loaded woofers.
Yes. Slot-loaded tweeters or woofers? Well, you just take any woofer and you slot load it, and then there it is. I don't have, oh, well, all those baffles he was just talking about have slot-loaded bottom ends. They're designed for 15-inch.
I think that there's a photo speaker you might be talking about.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Older room, and somebody's
Yeah.
built one.
That's mine.
Oh, is that what he's talking about?
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, okay.
And he
I got the crossover from you last year, so I figured I better use it. And then
Well,
I did
yeah,
and I did
but that is a
program
slot-loaded
for
bottom end, and then it's designed to cross out, I think, about 100, both, somewhere around 100 hertz to a 4-inch.
But yeah, with plywood, you could build one, a pair of those in a weekend.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Are there enough places around the US where you can take like a file and they can CNC cut plywood?
Oh,
Yeah,
g-
right
oh,
in Santa
God.
Rosa here, they've
Oh,
got,
God, yes.
they've got black,
Then you can just, then you just download it from DIY audio.
Yeah, but the
Well,
other thing is that you go, here's the other solution to that, is what if you went to clubs and events and say, where do you live?
That's Stockton.
Oh, no, you're here, but let's say you lived in Fargo, and you
Oh,
say,
okay.
you know, Fargo area DIYers, there might be one or two people nearby, you get together and say, hey, who's got the router, who's got the
Right,
router, put
yeah.
the pieces
Yeah, I
together.
got it.
But there's enough,
I mean,
even doing anything with other people makes it 10 times as interesting. Even if the project isn't exactly what you want to do, it's like, yeah, let's build it up and see what we think. And now you've got so much in common to talk about. Like, what do you think of the speakers? What do you think of the speakers? You go over to their house, listen to the same speakers, like, wait a second, your room acoustics are really different. And then we start talking about the fact that we're doing
Well, as long as you're talking about that, so here we are at the Pass factory, and we've got the machine shop down the street, I mean, literally down the street. Another one across town, and sometimes we need to do a one-off proto, and those guys are just too busy to get it done. Well, I don't even have to bother doing it. One of us will run down to the local junior college. They've got a maker lab.
Yeah.
So you go into the maker lab, you throw $20 at them, you join the maker lab, you give them the file, and you go put it on their CNC router, and an hour later you're walking out with a part. And HDF, high density fiberboard, Baltic birch, all of that, that's perfect, you know? So can you do this if you've got a junior college or access to a maker's fair? Oh, absolutely.
You know, one thing that I thought about, you talk about makers, right?
Mhm.
People who built their own hi-fi, starting at like the old Colony Sound Lab and that type of stuff, that this group of people that became DIY audio, that became audio DIYers, we were makers before that term ever existed. So they should give us one for free.
I knew there was a point.
But the reality is, if there's a will, there's a way to do this. And, you know, there's people that can do stuff. And they're usually not that hard to find.
Internet.
Yeah,
Inter-
kitchen cabinet shops. You can walk in with a napkin, and for $100, they'll draw you a DXF file, stick it in their machine, and spit you out the parts.
Mhm.
And everybody's got a kitchen cabinet shop next door. I mean, really, they're everywhere. And they have nice CNC equipment, and they work cheap as shit.
Particularly if you take them a box of
Oh,
donuts
right.
or...
They work really cheap. For beer sometimes.
Just to amplify what you were talking about, sources,
I rebuilt a Mercedes engine using 2 of the colleges.
There you go,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It took a year,
But it's doable,
and they did a beautiful job.
sure.
Yeah.
I got my A75 handles and faceplate all machined for a case of beer.
Nice.
Yeah, your pro audio, your stage and lighting companies that are around you, if you're in a mid-sized city, those guys also will work for beer. And they know the guys who will also cut your parts out, because a lot of the stage and lighting guys have special needs. They're not just buying turnkey products a lot of times, they're doing special builds, and so those guys are good people to know. So just don't worry, pro audio guys, befriend those guys, really.
Are we talking coolers or?
Usually cheap, you know, like Miller Lite. Nothing fancy, unless they wear a ball cap and have a cool beard like that guy. Forgot your name, man.
No, walk into a place like that. You know, I had people ask, "Gee, I'd buy Nelson's amplifier chassis if he'd sell them to me." No, you wouldn't want to buy them from Nelson, because our material costs and our labor costs to do this within our own community are huge. But if you were to go into a machine or fabrication shop and take something you built and take and show it to those guys, you'd be amazed how many of them will go, "Wow, hey, you want to look at our scrap bin?" Or, "Oh, I could do that for you better." And they'll work frequently at a ridiculous low price.
I did not know that.
Well, hell, Wayne got a job by coming in and dropping an amplifier on your desk.
Yes, but I had to give him a job, didn't I? Turned out to be quite expensive, then did you say?
Yes. All right, we are out of time.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you.